Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you. The Morning Majority, 630. WMAL.
It is 7:37 on the Morning Majority. Wilson, Neiman, Ham, all in our proper places this morning, and we are joined on the phone by Jake Tapper, part of the White House Press Corps. Of course, he works for ABC News. The White House Press Corps yesterday, even by Jake Carney's acknowledgement, Jake was exhibiting leadership during the briefing yesterday. But despite the efforts at leadership, we didn't really get many answers about these sort of nebulous ideas that the president has that's going to help us solve our way out of this financial morass.
That's right. Well, the president said in his remarks yesterday that he would be offering recommendations on a way forward when it comes to deficit reduction. And we're not sure what that means yet. I don't think they've determined inside the White House what that means yet. And it could be putting on paper the Obama-Boehner grand bargain that never happened. It could be, taking bits and pieces from the Bowles-Simpson Commission or bits and pieces from the Gang of Six recommendations. There's certainly no shortage of deficit reduction commissions that have put forward ideas over the years. So, but as far as we know, we don't have an answer yet as to what that will mean when the president does it. Pretty
rough session yesterday in the briefing room with Jake Carney, with people asking the question, where is the leadership?
Well, I think that there's a sense of frustration, not just in the press room, but in the country, that more isn't being done by our elected officials to try to lead. And you have Congress out until September 6th, and everybody talks about. I mean, it was remarkable that the day that that deal was done, you had Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill talking about, okay, now we need to turn to jobs. Now one Republican leader even said, we're going to pass this, and then the next day we're going to focus on jobs, and then the next day they, all left town.
In further questioning of Jay Carney, did you guys get any better sense of how they might announce his new ideas, exactly when that might come? Would it be in conjunction with Congress coming back to town?
Yeah, I would suspect it will be after Labor Day.
Yeah.
But there really weren't many details about it because I think they don't have them yet. I think they're still trying to determine what the best way forward is. Some critics of the president say that he could have just embraced the Bowles-Simpson Commission last year, and others say that's naive. If he had done that, then that would have been giving up the whole store and coming, as opposed to negotiating with legislators. But I think that there is. Well, it's tough to say what will happen in the next few months because I think everybody knows what needs to happen. There needs to be a serious bipartisan effort at deficit reduction. You would think that the S&P downgrade on Friday would serve as a wake-up call, as some have put it. But, so far I have not been impressed with the response. The response has been a lot of blaming the other side for the downgrade and not a lot of acknowledgement. The politicians in Washington have illustrated the very dysfunction that S&P was criticizing.
Procedurally, how would it work? Would it be like a deficit reduction bill that is presented and Congress passed and the president signed? Will it have something to do with the budget? Because we still don't have a budget that's been passed, right?
There will be. The whole appropriations process and the budget process is going to start again in September. That could be hairy as well.
Yeah.
There's always a chance that there could be a government shutdown in September if there is a bipartisan agreement on the way forward there. There are caps in place that were part of the debt deal as to how much can be spent on each appropriations bill in ech budget, but not a lot of detail yet. So that could get hairy as well. But no, we don't know. Obviously, presidents generally don't introduce legislation. The legislators do.
Right.
But I don't think they've determined the best way forward and the best way to end up with a result. There is this super committee that will be meeting and has until November 23rd to put forward, I think, $1.2 trillion in deficit reduction over the next 10 years. And I'm not sure what the prospects are there, and I'm not sure whether it makes sense for the president to introduce legislation when that super committee will be meeting and trying to hash things out. But certainly action's needed. Everybody acknowledges that. It's just nobody seems to be willing to figure out how to get there.
Well, we here in the Morning Majority have sort of been expressing the viewpoint that I'm not sure it's a good idea for Congress to try to rush back and try to do something in a panic. Generally, in my experiences in watching Congress operate, is that doesn't result generally in very good policy. But the other side of that coin is, can we afford to wait till Labor Day to start this process?
Well, I think in terms of rushing back, I think people, the people calling for Congress to rush back aren't talking about necessarily about the deficit reduction, the need for deficit reduction. I think they're talking more about help for the economy in terms of extending unemployment insurance, in terms of some sort of tax cut or payroll tax holiday, as the White House wants to do, and some sort of. Some say, although there are a lot on the Republican side who disagree with this, some sort of spending on infrastructure so as to kickstart some jobs in construction. That's more what the people calling for Congress to return are looking for. But I don't hear the people making the same calls when it comes to deficit reduction.
Okay,
you're hosting this week, right?
I am.
Excellent.
I'm hosting this week. We'll be in Iowa. We will be interviewing Tim Pawlenty. We'll have Michelle Bachmann. We'll have a great roundtable. We'll be running all over Iowa, getting the best of the straw poll, getting the best of the flavor of that early caucus state, and we'll be live from Iowa on Sunday.
All right.
Fun. We'll be watching.
I'm excited.
Jake Tapper with ABC News. Always good to have you here on the Morning Majority.